I'd like to take a moment to thank my channel members. Thank you. It's continued support like yours that keeps this channel growing. And if you haven't already, please consider joining today. Hello and welcome, I'm Bert the Stormtrooper, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Masters of the Universe Fright Zone playset, and I love this toy. Originally released in 1985, it retailed for approximately $30, and it served as a sort of a home or base of operations for Hordak and the Evil Horde. And this is a really cool playset that I just finished kind of restoring and putting back together. And this is one that I did not have as a kid. When we were kids, my brother and I had a large collection of Masters of the Universe. We had Castle Grayskull, we had Snake Mountain, we had a bunch of vehicles, we had a bunch of figures, but the Horde Fright Zone here, this was one that we never had. This is actually my first time experiencing this playset. And right off the bat, I have to say it's a lot bigger than I anticipated. I always saw pictures of it, and having had the other two playsets as a kid, I always imagined that this was smaller. And now that I have it and I've put it together, it's a lot bigger than I thought. It measures approximately 18 inches in length from side to side here, or width. It's approximately 12 inches tall up here at the top of the rock, but if you go all the way to the top of the tree up here, it's about 20 inches. And actually, I didn't measure the depth, but through the power of editing, you did not see me just do that. And it also measures approximately 12 inches deep. So that's a lot of shelf space that this playset is going to take up. And this is a really cool playset. I'm going to bring the camera up some so we can see a little more about what's going on here. It doesn't look like it's got that much going on, but it actually does. So as you'll notice here, I am using the Origins figures because I don't have, actually I do have original Hordak and Grizzlor. Those are in my daughter's room. But for the most part, I'm going to be using the Origins figures here because Origins figures are the same scale. This is what is on my display. I've got Castle Grayskull, Eternia, Snake Mountain, and then the Horde with the slime pit next to it. So this is what is on my display. Origins figures is what I'm using. You'll also notice that there is something, a bit of a difference here. There is a customization that I have done, and I'm going to get a little more into that later on, but that will be the snake. Of course, it is common knowledge that the original snake, the rubber that it was made out of, has not survived the years. It's become very brittle. It falls apart. It's one of the most difficult pieces to find intact, and if you find it, you don't want to play with it because it's just going to fall apart. So us collectors and customizers, we kind of have to come up with our own kind of solution for the snake puppet that was included with the original one. And again, I've made my own. I'll go into a little more details about that when we get to the snake. So let's start talking about all of the different features that the playset here holds. So starting in the front here, or on the bottom level, you'll notice that most of it is sculpted to look like rocks. We got a bit of a cave thing going on over here, and there's just a lot of like rocks and a lot of really cool detail. You got vines happening here around the cave itself and the prison. You've got Hordak's head kind of sculpted in there. And then as you look through here, you've got like some steps going up here. Unfortunately, the steps are not big enough to put figures on there. Kind of a thing with these playsets back then. Snake Mountain was kind of the same way. You couldn't stand the figures on the steps. Kind of wish these were a little bigger so that you could just really build some really cool dioramas with this. Something very cool that a lot of people miss is these little kind of grates back here. Now, the back of the playset, there's not a whole lot. You're kind of looking at everything here. There's nothing on the back. It's not like Castle Grayskull where you had, on the inside is where most of your play features were. But then you had Snake Mountain, which most of your play stuff was really on the outside. There wasn't a whole lot on the inside. And I think by the time this came out, they were just kind of like, hey, they're just going to play with one side of it. Let's just make one side of it. So the inside of this is really kind of hollow. But the fact that there's these little grates here is really cool because it kind of implies that there's more to this than what you see. There could be like a dungeon back here, and you could probably stand a figure back here and you could see it behind the grates there, which is really neat. Now right here in the front, we've got our jail cell. So very cool, kind of an upgrade, I'm gonna say, to both Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain, where those had traps but didn't really have any dungeons to put your prisoners in. This one actually has a dungeon itself. It is very cool because this is actually locked in. Your figures get locked in there. There's a lever right up here at the top, and if you push back on that lever, it actually opens the door, and then you can put your prisoner in there and close the gate, and I'll show you that in a moment. But I want to kind of focus on all of the details here. A lot of very cool molded details. We got some shackles, we got some chains, there's some rats in there, there's a skull down here on the floor. A lot of really, really cool detail in there. And you've got enough room where you can take a figure, you can take a prisoner and put him in here. And then when you close the gate, this little lever here does that, and it's locked. It automatically locks it, so they're back in there. Now they're imprisoned. They can't get out unless somebody comes up here and releases that lever to open that gate. Very, very cool play feature right there. I love the way that works. It works so well. So let's say now I got to get a hero up here to pull this lever to open the gate. So let's move the camera up and let's talk about this tree, which is going to be really difficult to shoot because it's literally inches below my light right there, and I don't want any light saturation to mess up the shot there. So now my hero is going to come up the steps here to come to this lever to free his warrior ally down there. Well, this tree up here is also a trap. There are a pair of levers around the back that when you squeeze them will actually grab the figure and imprison it, or imprison them, and you can actually twist it around and kind of jerk them around, thrash them about, and then you can release them and drop them down to the bottom of the, let's call it the pit down there. And in my doing so, I actually took the tree off of its mount. It's got a couple of pegs right here on the bottom, and then there's just kind of pegs right up here to the top, and I don't have mine quite secured right there. But there we go. Now we've dropped our would-be hero down to the trap below, which makes him easy prey for what lies inside of the cave right there. But let's not get to that just yet because we have one more trap. So let's say our hero survived our drop right here. So he's going to get up, and right here on the floor, we have what they call the rock monster. And this is a little, it's not a spring-loaded trap. It's a spring-loaded trap, but it's powered by rubber bands. So there's a little rubber band down here. And what this does is when you get a little bit of pressure, that closes up and it traps our hero's feet, right? So when our heroes would get up, their feet would become trapped right here by the rock monster. And now they can't get out. They are just as trapped as our other ally that's already in the prison cell, which brings us to the last of the traps, and that's going to be our snake monster. Now, like I said, the original snake monster, long gone, very difficult to get. You know what? If Mattel sees this, Mattel, you could make so much money by making reproductions of those snake monster puppets and selling them now. There are so many people that have collected and have these original playsets that would absolutely buy new puppets to add to their existing Horde playsets. During the last fan vote, the Horde was one of, the Fright Zone was one of the options to vote for, and that's the one that I voted for. I was so excited when I saw that, the thought of having a new Fright Zone for Origins with a new snake puppet. Mattel, please give us a new Fright Zone, and at the very least, give us a new puppet, a new snake puppet. I will buy it. We will all buy it because we all need it. So, but that being said and done, here is what I have done, and my paint's starting to flake off already, which I expected because it is rubber. But here's what I have done, and I've done something similar to this before. In my previous video where I restored Snake Mountain, a vintage Snake Mountain for my daughter, I made a snake puppet for that original Snake Mountain. You remember Snake Mountain on the bottom has a hole there, so I made a snake puppet for her so that she could kind of stick her hand out through it with the snake puppet and capture figures and whatnot. So I applied that same principle to this. This is just a little snake hand puppet that I got off of Amazon, and this is a dishwashing glove that I cut and glued on here, and then I just airbrushed the whole thing, and it just kind of gave it a similar paint job to that of the original snake puppet. So I gave it the dark green with the yellow stripes, the red, or the yellow eyes with the red outline and pupil, give him a red mouth, and just kind of simulated or emulated the paint job from the original puppet, and this is what I've got. So going back to the scene here, we've got Man-at-Arms is trapped here by the rock monster, and the snake monster can come out of the cave and attack him and just kind of grab him, thrash him around, and then just bring him back inside the cave with him, and we're gonna have ourselves a nice lunch. So it's a very, very cool play feature that we've got right there. And there we have one last look at the 1985 Masters of the Universe Horde playset. Fright Zone, Horde Fright Zone playset. Absolutely must have if you're in the Masters of the Universe, whether that be vintage or origins. This is a fantastic playset, a lot of fun play features included here, and it fits really well whether you have a vintage collection or an origins collection like I do. This fits really well with either, so this is an absolute must-have. I pieced mine together and applied a lot of repairs that I watched Toy Polloi do. I had one of the clips right here, so the clip on the side over there that was missing, I took this one, I measured it out, I designed my own, and I 3D printed it. So I used that, and then I painted it to match. So that's what's on the side over here. The lever here, I had to fix that using the same fix that Toy Polloi did on his video. Same thing with the monster trap down here. I did a fix on that. So there are very common breaks with this set that are very easy and well documented to repair. So absolutely, if you're in the Masters and you don't have one of these, by all means, go after one, piece one together, and you will not be disappointed. And I think that about does it, once again, for the 1985 Masters of the Universe Horde Fright Zone playset. What did you think of this playset? Let me know down in the comments. Give me some thumbs up. Subscribe, share with your friends if you like what you see. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.